Jim Ovia, let's get a perspective from you as a representative of the private sector. So you founded Nigeria's largest bank by market capitalization and assets, and you're employing a lot of people, but you're employing the high-skilled girls and boys, the people who come with tech, with finance, with MBAs. What do you make of the ones at the bottom of the pyramid, the people who are desperate for jobs but would never be able to work in your bank?
Thank you. The bottom of the pyramid, the youths, the unemployed, and those who have great energy, those who have the potential to be trained, and also those who embrace digital technology. The beauty of having a young African population, which by your statistics, 250 million, I just finished a session where we're discussing the Africa growth plan. And the focus was principally, how do we empower the youths? How do we create jobs for the youth? That was the focus as chairperson of World Economic Forum, Africa Regional Conference since last year, 2008. That's exactly what we've been focusing on. The figure we had was slightly over 400 million youths that will be looking for jobs that needed to be empowered. And interestingly, we found out that they are all very willing, very capable, very able to embrace digital technology.
Mr. Jim Ovia, you've been silent, but let's bring you into the conversation. So I was in Lagos a few weeks ago, and I was speaking with a leading manufacturer in the country. And one of the things that was said was, the market is slowly opening up, but actually, it's the banking sector that's absorbing the very best talent in Nigeria. So somebody will come out of university, a mechanical engineer, but will end up working in a bank. Somebody will come out of university with ICT skills and will end up working in the bank. So basically, the banks are mopping up everyone who has talent. And that's because the rest of the economy just doesn't have the capacity to absorb the skills and to churn the skills. When you speak as the business community in Nigeria, how do you think you're going to go about sorting out these problems?
First of all, I think it's a good thing that we have great talents in the banking industry to be able to keep your money for you. So now, actually, opportunities are everywhere. It depends on the structure of the economy. And not just the structure of the economy itself, specific industries. If the banking industry decide to structure itself in such a way that the talents are put out there to manage a huge amount of resources and responsibilities, we can't afford to lose depositors' money. We can't afford to lose money that belongs to stakeholders. So you must structure your industry in such a way that the best and nothing but the best are there. Can you do the same for other industry like telecommunication? The answer is yes. Like power sector, the answer is yes. Like agriculture, the answer is yes. Why is it not done? Government policies. That's exactly what Her Excellency and His Excellency were just alluded to very recently. The government policies, the government have to come up with policies that enable other sectors to do well and blossom. If various governments come up with good policy in the area of agriculture, animal husbandries, everyone will want to be in agriculture, will want to be a farmer because it's going to be very profitable. The policy did favor ICT in many countries like Nigeria, South Africa, quite a few other countries. And you will see that ICT, one of the highest listed market capitalized companies you have in Africa is ICT. So they are doing extremely very well. And that's because the government policy also favors that too. Then what about the area of power sector? not much had been done in that regard. In many countries, the government also need to come up with enabling policies for power so that there's power everywhere. If you look out, there's darkness in many African countries. Darkness, total darkness. Why can't we come up with the right policy, right incentive? Everyone will go into the power sector and brighten up Africa.
Just briefly, Nigeria is obviously the largest economy in Africa at the moment. Nigeria has to work. Just as South Africa is the most advanced economy in Africa, it has to work. So when two of the best players are a little bit dysfunctional or underperforming, it's a problem for everybody else. So what pressure are you putting on authorities, on the government in Nigeria, indeed even on the South Africans, to get it right?
No, the issue of xenophobia is truly for the politicians. The various heads of state at the AU, African Union, they all have to sit on a round table. Either they can punch themselves and decide to find a solution, or they sit to talk about it and they will come up with a solution of the issue of xenophobia. This is not for the private sector. This is not for the entrepreneurs.
This is not about xenophobia. And Obi, just by way of a heads up, I'm coming to you with that one. You're going to take it. But this is just the pressure you're going to put on the Buhari administration, the Ramaphosa administration. You're an investor to say, you want more of my money? These are the changes I want to see.
Actually, it's unusual for private sector to insist on such demand on any government entity. It's never done that way. Policy issues, the issue of government regulatory issues is for the politicians. The private sector will never, actually, let me put it this way, the tail should never wag the dog. It's the dog that should wag the tail.
In your next life, diplomat. You're going to do very well. Jim Ovia, the skills that you think would benefit young people going forward?
I think vocational skill, many of the young people have education. They're already educated already. What they do lack is the skill to perform certain specific tasks. They needed to have those skills. How do they acquire the skills? By creating additional vocational schools, either in the area of ICT, or in the area of agriculture, or in the area of manufacturing, or in area of petrochemical. But they don't know these things. These are the various areas that will create jobs for the youths, and they themselves will be creators of jobs, innovators, makers, builders, and also employers. They needed to be employers as opposed to looking for jobs. Well, we need to prepare them to be able to create jobs themselves. As the Chinese saying, if you give one fish to eat, you feed him for one day. Yeah. But if you teach him how to fish, he is going to be for life an employer, and he will feed himself for life. Yeah. That's what we need to do.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Karan Bhatia, Obeza Kwesili, Jim Ovia, President Zude, and President Musisi, Botswana and Ethiopia. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.